Oh, sorry about the delay. Alright, let's turn this down. How are we all? I was up to an ungodly time last night, and I slept right through my alarm. Horrifically, by about 3 hours. Hate watchers will become fans, yes, that is the strategy. Lure them in with drama, keep them for the theory. We will fix you. It's okay. The new Philosophy Tube does look interesting. Philosophy Tube's gotten much better in the last year. I was not a fan of her early stuff. But I guess once she has a committee writing for her, it's just good writing and her acting chops in combination, and it's not just one theater student trying to know everything. It's gotten a lot better. It's gotten much better. What is that oval-shaped object behind you with the finger paint? That's my face, thank you for... No, what is that? Oh, that is a new octopus. We have, of course, Professor Squiddleton, who you already know. And her trusty manservant. Squid servant, actually. I was gonna call it Pussworth, but it seemed that could be read the wrong way. Alright, anyways, we have stuff. Horrible stuff. Soul-breaking stuff. Oh, that's really oddly cut. Let's fix that a little bit. That's better. How do we make this fit? There we go, okay. I have had people in my server and in chat suggesting that Zizek didn't write this. That strikes me as unlikely. Especially given how much attention this has gotten over the last couple of days. I feel like that's something that would be corrected pretty quickly. We'll be moving around a little bit during this. The text kind of wobbles from side to side. I haven't gone through all of this. I've seen bits. What I've seen is not great. So we're just gonna go through this and, I don't know, experience it or something. Let's just cope, yeah, maybe. Zizek's just a guy. He can say stupid stuff. He can make mistakes. Maybe we'll learn something about what he's doing with this. Immediately, though, as soon as somebody uses the term wokeness in a positive sense, as if this is descriptive of any actual coherent movement or ideological position or theory or whatever, I don't know. Like, just abandon all hope, ye who enter here. Wokeness is something as a term that is basically only used by people who are so completely uninvested in the things that they're talking about. They just combine all the people they have total contempt for and want to disappear into an amorphous blob. So what is wokeness? Well, wokeness is the gays when they're annoying. It's the transes. It's the barbarian hordes at the gates, and they're like pale, frail, little advocates who secretly want to bring about the Soviet Union in North America or something, and that's basically it. There's no actual content here. Wokeness doesn't refer to any discrete position, as in like a position that's delineated from any other one. It doesn't refer to any particular set of policies. It doesn't refer to a particular group. It literally just refers to everybody who the conservative, far-right, liberal bloc hodgepodge has contempt for. That's basically it. It's so this represents a degeneration in quality of thought, and that's really unfortunate. If he's not saying this ironically in any sense, and I will be keeping my eye open for that, but I'm not hopeful. All right. Now, some claim that wokeness is on the way. In fact, I'm not going to do that. In fact, it is gradually being normalized, conformed to even by those who inwardly doubt it, and practiced by the majority of academic, corporate, and state institutions. This is why it deserves more than ever our criticism, together with its opposite, the obscenity of the new populism and religious fundamentalism. This is a weird paragraph, or I guess a couple of sentences. So he says, some claim that wokeness is on the wane. In fact, it is gradually being normalized, conformed to even by those who inwardly doubt it, and practiced by the majority of academic, corporate, and state institutions. He has not specified any particular practice. He hasn't specified what wokeness is. He has put it in quotes. So that would suggest that there's like an element of skepticism as to the accuracy of the term, or the usefulness of the term, or something along those lines. And yet he simply onboards it as if it was like a positive description of something tangible and coherent. Let's begin with Scotland, where Nicola Sturgeon's government pushed wokeism and LGBT causes almost to the end. In December 2022, it hailed a historic day for equality after Scottish lawmakers approved plans to make it easier for individuals to legally change their gender, extending the new system of self-identification to 16 and 17-year-olds. Basically, you declare what you feel you are, and you are registered as what you want to be. A predictable problem emerged when Ela Bryson, a biological male convicted of rape, was remanded to a women's prison in Stirling. Bryson decided that he was no longer a man after appearing in court on a rape charge. So we have a person who identifies itself. I don't think he's adhering to neopronouns here, so that's kind of an interesting choice of words. Identifies itself as a woman using its penis to rape two women. It is quite logical if maleness and femaleness have nothing to do with one's body and everything to do with one's subjective self-definition, then one must put a penis having rapist in prison with captive women. After protests, Bryson was put into a male prison. Again, this is problematic under Scottish law since we now have a self-identified woman in male prison. You're also introducing a rapist into the general prison population either way. Like we don't have the jokes that we do about male prisons for the reasons that we do. Or for no reason, rather. Sturgeon resigned because she alienated a part of the population that isn't anti-LGBT, but simply rejects such measures. They're not anti-LGBT. They just endorse, I guess, consistent with what Zizek is doing, referring to them as it, in a not the kind of way you refer to somebody as it when you're referring to Doe, and putting them into the prison system. No less, by the way, trans women do not fare well in male prisons. No. Sturgeon resigned because she alienated a part of the population. The point here is that there is no easy solution because sexual identity is in itself not a simple form of identity, but a complex dimension, full of inconsistencies and unconscious features, something that in no way can be established by a direct reference to how we feel. He's referring to sexual identity here, which is interesting. But he's already distinguished between sexual identity and gender identity in these sentences. Sorry, I'm YouTube brain. I'm going to videos. He refers to maleness and femaleness having nothing to do with one's body. He refers to, like, he understands the distinction, but he falls onto sexual identity as the descriptor of trans identity. So that's interesting. But a complex dimension full of inconsistencies and unconscious features, something that in no way can be established by a direct reference to how we feel. The recent controversy about the use of, well, I mean, this isn't true though. Like, once again, we've talked about this before. Take, for example, intersex people. Um, Sometimes it's on the basis of what the doctor feels, whether or not they have one organ or another cut out, and how they are raised. The recent controversy about the use of so-called puberty blockers concerns another aspect of the same complexity. The Tavistock Clinic in London was ordered by higher authorities to restrict the use of puberty blockers that suppress hormones and in this way pause a child's development of sex-based characteristics such as breasts. Tavistock was administering these drugs to youngsters between 9 and 16. They're puberty blockers. That's when you would who appeared not to be able to choose their sexual identity. Tavistock's clinicians reasoned that there is a danger that youngsters who can't determine their sexual identity would make an enforced choice under the pressure of their environment, thus repressing their true inclination to be trans mostly. You know, their inclination would be to be whatever gender they are, not to be trans. Being trans would just be the fact of having had to take measures to present bodily in that other way. Puberty blockers were necessary to allow such youth to postpone their entry into puberty, granting them more time during which to reflect on their sexual identity before deciding on it at a more mature age. I suppose irrevocable bodily changes are only acceptable when they are at the behest of the blind forces of nature. Puberty blockers were administered to almost all children sent for assessment at Tavistock, including to autistic and troubled youngsters who may have been misdiagnosed as uncertain about their sexuality. In other words, life-altering treatments are being given to vulnerable children before they were old enough to know whether they wanted to medically transition. Yeah, but he's putting the stress on... he's putting the stress on, oh, they're too young to know whether they want to medically transition. Here's the problem, though. If you don't give them access to puberty blockers, then you have children who end up identifying very firmly as trans women later on. Well, as women, but they are trans women later on. Who then have developments that are very difficult for that kind of person. I would have a great deal of difficulty passing, as they say, largely because of like certain changes in my physiognomy that are the result of puberty. Some people are luckier than others in that respect. But the psychological and social consequences of that are well documented by this point. Far worse than postponing your puberty by a little while. As one of the critics said, a child experiencing gender distress needs time and support, not to be set on a medical pathway they may later regret. This is not setting them on a pathway that's irrevocable, though. Right? You can start these hormones. You can go off puberty blockers and you can go through essentially puberty later on. In fact, trans men who go onto testosterone effectively have a second puberty. Would it be better if he did not write it but allowed it to be published under his name? A little bit, actually. I'd have a bit more respect for his thinking, at least. Maybe. Like, at least that's just negligent. The paradox is clear. Puberty blockers are given to allow youngsters to pause maturity and freely decide about their sexual identity, gender identity. But these drugs may also cause, well, more accurately, not about their sexual or gender identity, freely decide whether they want to medically transition with hormones. And these things need to be distinguished. Because the flip side of this is it shouldn't be simply a given that, oh, you're trans, therefore you need to sterilize yourself and you need to go on these specific treatments. That's not good either. But these drugs may also cause numerous other physical and psychic pathologies. Such as? And nobody asked the youngsters if they were ready to receive drugs with such consequences. Dr. Hilary Cass, one of the critics, wrote, quote, "We have no way of knowing whether, rather than buying time to make a decision, puberty blockers may disrupt that decision-making process. Brain maturation may be temporarily or permanently disrupted," unquote. Trans people, infamous for having generally very low IQ representation. That is a joke, by the way. Most of the smartest people I know are trans. Let's see here. Dr. Hilary Cass. What did you write, Hilary? What are we looking at here? Spectator. Oh, that's good. No, I'm not paying for this. Why the Tavistock Clinic had to be shut down. The Tavistock Clinic wasn't shut down. The Tavistock Clinic, this is false. Am I incorrect about that? I was under the impression the Tavistock Clinic was divided into two clinics. The issue was that it was being overwhelmed because it was the single clinic offering its services wherever it was. Yeah, that's. Am I incorrect, Chad? Is that wrong? One should take a step even further in this criticism and question the very basic claim that arriving at sexual identity is a matter of mature free choice. There is nothing abnormal in sexual confusion. What we call sexual maturation is a long, complex, and mostly unconscious process. It is full of violent tensions and reversals, not a process of discovering what one really is in the depths of one's psyche. That reads as nonsense. So he's fetishizing the automatic and unconscious and accidental part of the development of our awareness of our identities and arbitrarily downgrading the one that involves actually thinking about it, which is stupid. That's stupid. He should know better than this. For fuck's sake, he's a Hegelian. He should absolutely know better than this. At many gender clinics across the West, doctors feel compelled to adopt an unquestioning affirmative approach, one critic noted, with little regard to other underlying mental health crises troubling children. The pressure is, in fact, okay, let's I think we've done research into this already, but I want to find something quickly. Let's see. Okay. This is Mayo Clinic. We're just going to look quickly at the side effects to review. We've looked at them before, but it's been a hot minute. What happens when puberty blockers are stopped? Use of GnRH analogs pauses puberty, providing time to determine if a child's gender identity is long-lasting. It also gives children and their families time to think about or plan for the psychological, medical, developmental, social, and legal issues ahead. If an adolescent child decides to stop taking GnRH analogs, puberty will resume, and the normal progression of the physical and emotional changes of puberty will continue. Typical treatment time frame. Which makes sense. So puberty blockers, they're given at the onset of puberty. That's the age where you give them at. Side effects. Possible side effects. Short term, don't really care about those. Hot flashes, headaches, whatever. Use of GnRH analogs, that describes like Advil and things like that. GnRH analogs might also have long-term effects on growth spurts, bone growth, and density. That's a serious one. Okay, that's important. Future fertility. This is also an important one. That being said, the suicide rates for trans people who have not been offered the ability to transition, and we can infer as well the ability to transition in a satisfying way medically. The rates of mental health and suicide are astronomical in those communities. I would be very surprised if they are in any way commensurate in the received puberty blockers in their youth crowd. As many gender clinics across the West, doctors feel compelled to adopt an unquestioning affirmative approach. The pressure is in fact twofold. For one thing, clinicians are cowed by the trans lobby, which interprets skepticism regarding puberty blockers as a conservative attempt to make it more difficult for trans individuals to actualize their self-identity. Well, what I'm seeing here are potential fertility issues and bone growth and density. Yeah. Oh, and here's an interesting one. So if children with male genitalia begin using GnRH analogs early in puberty, they might not develop enough penile and scrotal skin for certain gender-affirming genital surgical procedures, such as penile inversion vaginoplasty later on. So that'd be an interesting thing to bring up. But I'm also pretty certain that they actually do, they do tell you about these when they provide them. The pressure is in fact twofold, carried by the trans lobby. This is compounded by a financial compulsion. More than half of Tavistock's income, for example, came from the treatment of youngsters' sexual troubles. I'm going to double check this. Hang on. Tavistock Clinic closed down. World's largest pediatric gender clinic shut down due to poor evidence, risk of harm, and operational failures. Let's take a look here. Treatment for gender dysphoria will be provided by established children's hospitals and will no longer be siloed under the affirmative care model. Hillary Cass is being cited a lot here. Advisors to SCGM have been raising alarm about the unfolding scandal with the Gender Identity Development Service for some years. Marcus Evans served on the governing board. He resigned over the trust's failure to heed warnings raised by staff within the clinic. Also in 2019, Michael Biggs uncovered the Gender Identity Development Service's experiment with puberty blockers, which the clinic had suppressed because the outcomes were not positive. That's interesting. More generally, advisors to SCGM have published several articles drawing attention to the paucity of evidence for puberty suppression and to the ethical problems of informed consent. Okay. Tavistock's experiment with puberty blockers. This isn't the study. This is about the experiment. This is by Michael Biggs, so I can't see the actual experiment itself. Second, a treatment regimen that focuses exclusively on gender dysphoria, ignoring co-occurring mental health conditions, will not provide optimal care for young people. If those co-occurring mental health conditions are not treated as an excuse, I would tend to agree, but I'm skeptical of that. Okay, here we go. The shutdown of GIDS is not merely a restructuring move in response to the clinic's failed operations. It's a move away from the gender-affirming intervention care model and toward whole person affirming care that is rooted in developmental psychology. What does that mean? That's a strange sentence. Society for Evidence-Based Oh. I see. I know where we are. The Society for Evidence-Based Gender Medicine is an activist nonprofit organization that is known for mischaracterizing standards of care for transgender youth and engaging in political lobbying using misinformation which contradicts the evidence base around transgender care. Okay, so let's see here. Actually, hang on. Who's associated with this? Huh. Malone and fellow SCGM member Colin Wright asserted in Quillette that counseling can help gender dysphoric adolescents resolve any trauma or thought processes that have caused them to desire an opposite-sex body. Yeah, so it's conversion therapy. That's essentially what that is. Pray the super gay away. Yeah, can someone get PS an article on what actually happened? Because this is, yeah. No doubt somebody has given me that already. Let's see. Okay, hang on. That's interesting. So if I look up Tavistock reasons for closing, Google actually promotes the SCGM result first. That's interesting. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so this is what I thought was going on. So look, this is from The Guardian. Let me move myself a little bit over here. So Tavistock Gender Identity Clinic is closing. What happens next? Analysis as NHS shuts London clinic for young people. New regional hubs are planned, but thousands remain on waiting lists. New regional hubs are planned, so it's being dispersed. When the Gender Identity Development Service for Children and Adolescents at the Tavistock and Portman NHS Trust in London was established in 1983, it was a different era. Demand for the service was unrecognizable for what it is today. In the past decade alone, the number of referrals to the GIDS went from 138 to 2,383 in 2020-2021, so we're a span of roughly 10 years. The announcement on Thursday that the NHS is winding down the service has been celebrated by many vocal, mainly gender-critical critics. The GIDS has faced relentless scrutiny in recent years, the number of former staff going public to raise concerns about the overdiagnosing of gender dysphoria, the consequences of early medical interventions, and the significant increase in referrals of girls questioning their gender identity, which is a trend reflected across Europe and globally. The controversy deepened in 2020 when the centre was taken to court by Kira Bell, a former patient who argued she had been too young to consent to the medical treatment overseen by the GIDS that began her female-to-male transition as a teenager. Bell won her initial case, but was overturned on appeal, with the Court of Appeal reaffirming the principle of Gillick competence that it was for doctors, not judges, to decide on the capacity of a person under 16 to consent to medical treatment. This was a relief to those who feared a chilling effect on the rights of young trans people. I want to see... In March, a review of gender identity services for young people led by the pediatrician Hilary Cass confirmed what everyone knew, that the service was under unsustainable pressure as demand outstripped capacity, resulting in overwhelmed staff and waiting lists of up to 2 years that left young people at considerable risk of distress and deteriorating mental health. It doesn't sound like they're handing it out like candy. Cass recommended the creation of a network of regional hubs to provide care and support, a recommendation accepted by the NHS. There are some ethical worries about Cass's suggestion that access to hormone treatment should be accompanied by enrollment into a formal research program. While it is not unusual to use anonymized data to improve outcomes, it is perhaps an indication of the breakdown in trust between transgender people and the government in particular. So the SCGM article is actually just lying. It's literally just making it up. That's unforgivable. Jesus Christ, Slavoy. Yeah, so he's just uninformed about Tavistock. It's dispersed. And it looks like we follow these links. That's MSN. Where was the that's a Spectator. Did he have an SCGM article in here, or did I find that myself? That's the Guardian. A deep dive into SCGM would be interesting. They work with detransitioners here and lie about it. That would be interesting, I agree. That'd be an interesting stream sometime. We should probably do that. The Chud Logic people are taking your pictures Sunday. They must admire you deeply. Well, I can't blame them. This chiseled jaw. To be sure, both of these controversies resulted in at least partial victory for anti-woke forces. Sturgeon resigned and the Tavistock clinic was closed. The controversy didn't result in that. That was the clinic being overrun because it had too much demand, actually. But the forces at work have a momentum that far exceeds the views of individual politicians and the dynamics of particular institutions. If anything, individuals and institutions are constantly attempting to accommodate themselves to strictures coming from elsewhere, rather than imposing them top-down. It is therefore certain that similar scandals will continue to multiply. If he did write this is embarrassing. As if interest group agitation and the compulsions of capital weren't enough. How far are we down? Oh, dear Lord, we got a ways to go. In our official... wokeness can also draw upon reserves of religious strength. In our official ideological space, of course, wokenness and religious fundamentalism appear as incompatible opposites, but are they really? Nearly a decade ago, the ex-Muslim activist Maryam Namazi was invited by London's Goldsmiths College to lecture people on the topic apostasy, blasphemy, and free expression in the age of ISIS. Her talk, which focused on Islamic oppression of women, was repeatedly and rudely disrupted by Muslim students. Did Namazi find allies among the college's feminist society? No, the feminists sided with the Goldsmiths Islamic Society. Well, what was she saying? Do we have actually a copy of that lecture, I wonder? I'm a little curious. Goldsmith. Oh, it's that one. I know who this is.
Well, what happened? Happened at Goldsmiths, the Islamic Society said that they wanted my talk cancelled because I would violate their safe space. And it was hilarious and absurd because, this is a society that has invited people to speak that call for the death penalty of apostates and blasphemers. And I was merely going there at the invitation of the Atheist, Secular and Humanist Society to...
Hang on, what was that sentence?
...the death penalty space. And it was hilarious and absurd because, this is a society that has invited people to speak that call for the death penalty of apostates and blasphemers. And I was merely going there at the invitation of the Atheist, Secular and Humanist Society to defend the right to apostasy and blasphemy, and not to incite death against anyone. But when it wasn't cancelled, they then came and tried to disrupt the talk. But what I wanted to say is that the fact that they felt they could disrupt my talk was because a few months earlier, Warwick University Student Union had barred me from speaking there because they said that my presence there would be inflammatory and that I would incite hatred against Muslims. And again, this idea that if you criticize religion or the religious right, that it's the same as placing harm and violence on people is so absurd, because actually we're fighting that hate and the incitement of hatred against us. It's the other way around. But, the world is so topsy-turvy. So again, at Goldsmiths, as you mentioned, when I was harassed by the Islamic Society, and it was more than harassment, one of the ISOC members made a bomb sound.
Oh, yes.
Another one put his hand to his head to one of our members to say it's like a death threat sign. And you can't see him do it, but you can see the person he did it to. They're standing by the...
Okay, hang on. Right, so she's the Sharia law person. Okay. This is very retro. It's like the kind of analogy you'd expect to see from like 2016 anti-SJW YouTubers. Isn't it funny that the Islamists and the SJWs are all that similar? This unexpected solidarity is ultimately grounded in the similarity in form of the two discourses. Oh my god. This is embarrassing. I'm actually... Did he write this? This reads like something, like, George Mueller, or Mueller, however you pronounce his name. That, Carefree Wandering guy. This reads like something he would write. This is dumb. Unexpected solidarity ultimately grounded in the similarity in form of the two discourses. Wokeness operates as a secularized religious dogma with all the contradictions this implies. John McWhorter, a black critic of racial wokeness, has enumerated some of them in his recent book, Wokeism. You must strive eternally to understand the experiences of black people. You can never understand what it is to be black, and if you think you do, you're a racist. Show interest in multiculturalism. Do not culturally appropriate. This is no exaggeration. Anyone who doubts the movement's repressive potential would be well advised to read A Black Professor Trapped in Anti-Racist Hell, Vincent Lloyd's account and compact of his encounter with wokeness at its worst. Lloyd's credentials are impeccable, yada yada, I don't care. In the summer of 2022, Lloyd was asked by the Telluride Association to lead a 6-week seminar on race and the limits of law in America, attended by 12 carefully selected 17-year-olds. 4 weeks later, 2 of the students had been voted out by their fellows, and Lloyd himself was soon ostracized and booted. In his last class, why were they able to vote each other out? That sounds like this was a social experiment of some kind. In his last class, each student read from a prepared statement about how the seminar perpetuated anti-black violence in its content and form, how the black students had been harmed, how I was guilty of countless microaggressions, including through my body language, and how students didn't feel safe because I didn't immediately correct views that failed to treat anti-blackness as the cause of all the world's ills. Well, that's interesting. Were there 17-year-old speakers at the seminar that were That's strange. Well, he got the first thing wrong, so let me see if anyone sent me any elucidation on that. Okay, oh no, it's another one. Oh no, they're so long. I guess we have to go through this. Fuck. Alright. A Black Professor Trapped in Anti-Racist Hell by Vincent Lloyd. On the first sunny day of seminar, I sat at the end of a pair of picnic tables with nervous, excited 17-year-olds. 12 high school students had been chosen by the Telluride Association through a rigorous application process. The acceptance rate is... Okay. Nope. Open. There we go. The acceptance rate is reportedly around 3% to spend 6 weeks together taking a college-level course, all expenses paid. The group reminded me of the heroes of the mysterious Benedict Society books. I was reading to my daughter. Each teenager brought together for a common project had some extraordinary ability and some quirk. One girl... Okay, oh my god, just get to the point. 4 weeks later, I sat again in front of the gathered students. Now their faces were cold, their eyes down. Since the first week, I had not spotted one smile. Their number was reduced by 2. The previous week, they had voted 2 classmates out of the house, and I was next. Why is there a voting system? What is this? I've never heard of seminars with voting systems before. Each student read from a prepared statement about how the seminar perpetuated anti-black violence in its content and form. What is this? Okay, I skipped over this. Did I miss something? In addition to the seminar, the students practiced democratic self-governance. They lived together and set their own rules. Those first few days, the students were exactly... What is this? Okay, so the problem is not wokeness. The problem is you have a bunch of kids in like a Lord of the Flies situation. What is this? Okay, this is going to be a whole other can of worms. We're going to come back to this later. Oh my god. What is going on? We are going to finish Zizek. We're going through the whole thing. It's just he's like citing things I'm not familiar with. Well, I guess he's going to like break it down. It seems to be one of his primary sources, and then we'll return to it. But more crucial than content was the conflict. No, where did we leave off? Up here. Here we go. In the summer of 2022, Lloyd was asked by the Telluride Association to lead a 6-week seminar on race and the limits of law in America, attended by 12 carefully selected 17-year-olds. 4 weeks later, 2 of the students had been voted out by their fellows, and Lloyd himself was soon ostracized and booted. In his last class, each student read from a prepared statement about how the seminar perpetuated anti-black violence. Okay, here we go. Lloyd compares these trends to that moment in the 1970s when leftist organizations imploded, the need to match and raise the militancy of one's comrades, leading to a toxic culture full of dogmatism and disillusion. His critics relied on a series of dogmas. Among them, there is no hierarchy of oppressions except for anti-black oppression, which is in a class of its own. Trust black women, prison is never the answer, all non-black people and many black people are guilty of anti-blackness. But more crucial than content was the conflict of forms between seminar and workshop. Lloyd tried to practice the seminar, an exchange of opinions. One intervention builds on another as one student notices what another student overlooked, and as the professor guides the discussion toward the most important questions. Seminars usually focus on a particular text, and the participants try to uncover its meaning patiently. By contrast, in the sort of anti-racist workshop that Lloyd critiques, the dogma is clearly established, and the exchange focuses on how and where somebody knowingly or unknowingly violated it. As Alenka Zupancic, I think it's Zupancic, has noted, the universe of PC workshops is the universe of Bertolt Brecht's Jassiger. Everybody says yes again and again, and the main argument against those who are not accepted as sincere partisans is harm. Here is how harm works, according to Lloyd. During our discussion of incarceration, an Asian American student cited federal inmate demographics. About 60% of those incarcerated are white. The black students said they were harmed. They had learned in one of their workshops that objective facts are a tool of white supremacy. Outside of the seminar, I was told the black students had to devote a great deal of time to making right the harm that was inflicted on them by hearing prison statistics that were not about blacks. A few days later, the Asian American student was expelled from the program. Objective facts are a tool. Where is this written? Like, can we have like some kind of citation about this? We need to know who we're talking about. Not I found somebody talking about a class somewhere or a workshop at some point in the past where, to their best recollection, somebody said something to the effect that objective facts are a tool of white supremacy. Two things should surprise us here. First, this new cult combines belief in fixed, objectivized dogmas with full trust in how one feels, although only the oppressed blacks have the right to refer to their feeling as the measure of the race's guilt. A critical confrontation of arguments plays no role, which implies that open debate, quote-unquote, is a racist white supremacist notion. Objective facts are a tool of white supremacy. This is a quote, but what is the source of this? Yes, so that, as Trumpists used to say, we need to generate alternative facts. To be clear, there is a kernel of truth in this. Those who are brutally oppressed can't afford the deep reflection, and well-elaborated debate needed to bring out the falsity of liberal humanist ideal. Oh, that's so stupid, Zizek. Like, here's how I could see this coming out. The whole, like, debates which have serious social consequences for large numbers of people, who are embedded in, like, active processes that result in things like poverty and mental illness and things like that. Those conversations being gamified and being treated as like fodder for, oh, let's get a couple of celebrities who have no training in this subject, let's get some like well-known authors or whatever, and let's just have like this masturbatory debate session at the Oxford Union. Like that's garbage. That doesn't get us anywhere. And it creates the illusion of having actually discussed the thing when in fact you've had a bunch of know-nothings pontificate for an hour, while the people who are actually affected are basically ignored. Like that's arguably a tool of white supremacy in that it runs a kind of tacit interference for it. But again, I've never heard of people like characterizing discussion and debate categorically as that. Like in the sense of arguments are a tool of white supremacy. That's not what's referred to. What's referred to is the performance of debate in which I don't know, like some dipshit who just happens to have an audience, just bullies around some other person for an hour, and then it's like, well, look, we've had the debate. It's settled. There's just nothing to do here, right? Like that sucks. But in this case, as in most other cases, those who appropriate the role of the leaders of the revolt are precisely not the brutalized victims of the racist oppression, The woke are a relatively privileged minority of a minority allowed to participate in a top quality workshop of an elite university. In this example, but in general, no. In general, a lot of the people um, who are like advocated for by quote unquote woke activists are categories of people within whom poverty, for example, is endemic. Second, the mystery resides in the functioning of the big other, the Tellarite administrative authority in this case. The view gradually imposed on all by the awakened black elite was the view of a minority, initially even among the black participants. But how and why did these few not only succeed in terrorizing the majority, but even compelling the Tellarite Association to take their side and decline to defend Floyd? Why didn't they at least assume a more nuanced position? How does wokeness, although a minority view, manage to neutralize the larger liberal and leftist space, instilling in it a profound fear about openly opposing the woke? Why not be specific? Why not say, oh, it appears in this particular case the university administration appeared to be strangely reserved in this context about being proportionately critical of black students in this seminar in particular. Like, why not just say that? The wokeness thing adds absolutely zero analytical content to this. It clarifies nothing. It actually obfuscates a ton because he's looping in like so many different things that he's just not elaborated on. And it's just dog whistling to like the James Lindsay crowd is what it sounds like. Psychoanalysis has a clear answer to this paradox, the notion of superego. Superego is a cruel and insatiable agency that bombards me with impossible demands and mocks my failed attempts to meet them. It is the agency in the eyes of which I am all the more guilty the more I try to suppress my sinful strivings. The old cynical Stalinist motto about the accused of the show trials who profess their innocence, the more they are innocent, the more they deserve to be shot, is superego at its purest. And did McWhorter in the quoted passage not reproduce the exact structure of the superego paradox? You must strive eternally to understand the experiences of black people. You can never understand what it is to be black, and if you think you do, you're a racist. In short, you must, but you can't because you shouldn't. The greatest sin is to do what you should strive for. I don't think anybody says you must strive eternally to understand the experiences of black people. I think typically when people say you can't understand what it is to be black, they're talking to a white person who is describing, as if from the first person, the experiences of people in a situation they don't share and treating it as if it is in some sense more benign or tolerable than it actually is. This convoluted structure of an injunction, which is fulfilled when we fail to meet it, accounts for the paradox of superego. As Freud noted, the more we obey the superego commandment, the guiltier we feel. The paradox also holds in the Lacanian reading of the superego as an injunction to enjoy. Enjoyment is an impossible real. We can't ever fully attain it, and this failure makes us feel guilty. What is this adding to this? This contradicts what Zizek has said about superego in the past, as he completely abandoned his philosophy. That's interesting. President Sunday, do you think Zizek may have made this article for his already established audience who know what wokeness is? Nobody knows what wokeness is the problem. And he's generally engaged in critical work where we should expect more analytical rigor from him. Wokeness doesn't specify anything. It's super vague. Yeah, this article is contradictory with past Zizek points. Does anybody have a source for this? This would be interesting to return to. If he's contradicting himself on this super ego point. Let me see quickly. Also, do you want that Goldsmith lecture? Yeah, please, Jordan. I would like that Goldsmith lecture if you found it. If you look at the bottom, it doesn't say written by him, it says edited. What? No, it says he's an editor of Compact, but at the top, it cites him as the author here. Oh, you can't see that. It's my face is over it. Right there. So it looks like it's by Zizek. AI generated. That could be interesting. Listen, if you have any trouble, let's call Cherry and see if she can translate the academic mumble jumble. That would be funny. Okay. Well, let's press on, I suppose. A series of situations that characterize today's society exemplify perfectly this type of superego pressure. Like the endless PC self-examination, was my glance at the flight attendant too intrusive and sexually offensive? If this was made by an AI, that'd be funny. And disturbing. Was my glance at the flight attendant too intrusive and sexually offensive? Did I use any words with a possible sexist undertone while addressing her? And so on and so on. The pleasure, thrill even, provided by such self-probing is evident. And does the same not hold even for the pathological fear some Western liberal leftists have of being counted guilty of Islamophobia? In this telling, any critique of Islam can only be an expression of Western Islamophobia. Salman Rushdie is denounced for unnecessarily provoking Muslims, and thus partially at least inviting the fatwa condemning him to death. The result is predictable. The more the Western liberal leftists probe their guilt, the more they are accused by Muslim fundamentalists of being hypocrites who try to conceal their hatred of Islam. This constellation again perfectly reproduces the paradox of the superego. The more you obey what the other demands of you, the guiltier you are. It is as if the more you tolerate Islam, the stronger its pressure on you will be. The superego structure then explains how and why in the Telluride case, the majority and the institutional big other were both terrorized by the woke minority. No, that doesn't explain jack. That's not explanatory. All of them were exposed to a superego pressure that is far from an authentic call to justice. Now we're adding in the concept of justice, okay? The black woke elite is fully aware it won't achieve its declared goal of diminishing black oppression, and it doesn't even want that. Where are you getting this from? We'll have to read the article after this, because I have no idea what the basis is of these sentences. What they really want is what they are achieving, a position of moral authority from which they may terrorize all others without effectively changing social relations of domination. You know what that describes? That describes the liberal position. The situation of those terrorized by the woke elite is more complex, but still clear. They submit to woke demands because most of them really are guilty of participating in social domination, but submitting to woke demands offers them an easy way out. You gladly assume your guilt insofar as this enables you to go on living the way you did. It's the old Protestant logic. Do whatever you want, just feel guilty for it. This is so non-specific. The situation of those terrorized by the woke elite. Who are these? We don't know. What defines them? We don't know. Those terrorized by them? Who are they? We don't know. There's no specificity at all. This is just stupid. If this is actually written by Zizek, this is astonishingly disappointing. Considering the origin of the word woke, the characterization of a black woke elite is pretty distasteful. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Quote unquote, wokeness effectively stands for its exact opposite. Slopeness? In his interpretation of dreams, Freud reports on a dream dreamt by a father who falls asleep while keeping vigil at his son's coffin. In this dream, his dead son appears to him, pronouncing the terrible appeal, "Father, can't you see that I am burning?" When the father awakens, he discovers that the cloth on the son's coffin has caught fire from a falling candle. So why did the father awaken? Was it because the smell of the smoke got too strong so that it was no longer possible to prolong the sleep by way of including it into the improvised dream? Lacan proposes a much more interesting reading of this incredibly unlikely and unverifiable story. If the function of the dream is to prolong sleep, if the dream, after all, may come so near to the reality that causes it, can we not say that it might correspond to this reality without emerging from sleep? Why would the function of the dream be to prolong sleep? Why would dreams have a function? After all, there is such a thing as somnambulistic activity. The question that arises, and which indeed all Freud's previous indications allow us here to produce, is what is it that wakes the sleeper? Is it not in the dream another reality? The reality that Freud describes thus: Das Kind an seinem Bette steht, that the child is near his bed, takes him by the arm and whispers to him reproachfully, blah, 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 blah. "Father, can't you see I am burning?" Is there not more reality in this message than in the noise by which the father also identifies the strange reality of what is happening in the room next door? Is not the missed reality that caused the death of the child expressed in these words? You kind of have to explain what these terms mean. This doesn't make any sense by itself. I don't know Lacan, but I don't know why he's invoking this if he's not going to explain it. So it wasn't the intrusion of the signal from external reality that awakened the unfortunate father, but the unbearably traumatic character of what he encountered in the dream. Or it was a coincidence. Or it was something else. It was stress. Or maybe stress caused the dream, and these, do you see how there's a million different ways in which you can interpret this? I don't know why on earth you would use this to diagnose a social issue that you are, well, I mean, on top of that, you're diagnose an example that you are used of a single seminar with weird parameters, weirdly specific parameters, and then use that as a sample by which to diagnose a globe-spanning thing that you have failed to define in this entire essay. What the hell does wokeness refer to? What are we even talking about? There's nothing here. Except apparently it's a secular religion, whatever that means. Has he identified what it means for a religion to be secular? Has he identified what a religion is? Has he identified what secular even means? Has he connected these terms together in any way? Because he hasn't specified wokeness or woke or whatever at all. So how would you even attach these two together in the first place? Even if you had a robust definition of religion and secularity, etc. So it wasn't the intrusion of the signal, but the unbearably traumatic character of what he encountered in the dream, insofar as dreaming means fantasizing in order to avoid confronting the real. Was he dreaming to avoid confronting the real? I think he was asleep. Do we know was he trying to do anything? The father literally awakened so that he could go on dreaming. But he literally didn't. He awakened to a fire that was directly, or that he perceives, or that Zizek for some reason perceives as being in some way correspondent to a statement by his son in the dream. He's not going on dreaming. Okay, so the scenario was the following one. When his sleep was disturbed by the smoke, the father quickly constructed a dream which incorporated the disturbing element smoke fire in order to prolong his sleep. However, what he confronted in the dream was a trauma of his responsibility for the son's death. much stronger than reality, so he awakened into reality in order to avoid the real. How have you, I guess Lacan, if he's quoting from Lacan, how did he arrive at this? This is wild speculation. And it is exactly the same with much of the ongoing woke. So he's putting it in quotes, but he hasn't clarified what he's talking about. With the ongoing woke movement, the woke awaken us to racism and sexism precisely to enable us to go on sleeping. They show us certain realities so that we can go on ignoring the true roots and depth of our racial and sexual traumas. No, uh, this is it's actually the opposite. The entire point, in the earliest use of it, is that it refers to being aware of the fact that the society in which you live is not a fair monopoly game in which you just need to play your cards right and everything will sort of sort itself out. Um, Things are slanted in deep and pervasive ways by very specific the very specific historical events that led to our present, and these can't just be overcome, which includes, by the way, the fact that the structures in which we live and that we rely upon, for like social fluidity and for our prosperity, et cetera, um, is itself the product of deprivations that have not been rectified. And I mean at every single level. I mean at the level of the oppression of people on the basis of sex and gender. I mean on the basis of race. I mean in terms of like taking territories that don't belong to conquering parties, et cetera, et cetera. Um, the entire point is that you need to be aware of this stuff so you don't go on dreaming and don't go on thinking that, oh well, if we just go out and vote and if we just have like robust debates and we just argue better, then everything will fix itself. No, because people are ideologically slanted, people are dishonest, and people are prejudiced, and the point at which somebody changes their position is very rarely the point at which they have forced themselves awake and into a position of such leisure and of being informed that they encounter a sequence of effective conversations in which they personally are convinced of the better option, and therefore everybody just changes their minds. Like, think about how astonishingly unrealistic that is. That's a dream. This is like, this is embarrassing conservative pablum. I don't know what the fuck he was smoking when he wrote this, if indeed he did. If this ends up being like a stunt and this is written by an AI, that would actually be funny. So I await that, hopefully. But, like, Christ, this is embarrassing. This is an embarrassing article. I just watched this video on the Gillette ad, and it seems like he is or was pro-trans. Yes, I've seen that too. That was my impression as well. Um, Maybe I was wrong, or maybe his celebrity got to his head, and he's been co-opted. I don't know. I just don't know. This is weird, and it's not just weird because of the positions it takes. It's weird because of how like dimly it's written. This is a stupid article. This is like something I would expect from an undergraduate. This is like James Lindsay tier. Freud, or not Freud, Zizek is not James Lindsay tier. Zizek is or was like an extremely critical, extremely erudite author. Um, I don't know what to make of this. And these are the tags: wokeness, cancel culture, race, gender ideology, transgenderism. Even Vosh was astonished at how stupid. Did Vosh cover this? It's like he wanted to LARP as Jordan Peterson for a day. Yeah, it's what it seems like. Has there been any follow-up for this? Let's see. Also, the title is Wokeness is Here to Stay. Did he ever establish this? He didn't. He didn't say anything to that effect. Wait a minute. Hang on a sec. Let's put on our conspiracy hats for a second. We're going to Columbo this shit. The title is Wokeness is Here to Stay. He never actually defends that thesis. Never. He diagnoses the ongoing woke movement and says, this is what's going on with the ongoing woke movement. The woke awaken us to racism and sexism precisely to enable us to go on sleeping. They show us certain realities so that we can go on ignoring the true roots and depth of our racial and sexual traumas. He doesn't actually defend the thesis implied by the title. Is this an AI product? It's possible. See, because it doesn't actually build to a coherent thesis. And it relies on a surprising poverty of sources. He probably didn't choose the title himself. Maybe not. Okay, but let's look at the... okay, here we go. Some claim that wokeness is on the wane. In fact, it is gradually being normalized, conformed to even by those who inwardly doubt it, and practiced by the majority of academic, corporate, and state institutions. This is why it deserves more than ever a criticism. Maybe he didn't choose the title, but at the same time, wokeness is here to stay is an odd choice. That actually almost seems triumphant. Leaving aside the problems with the term wokeness by itself and its ambiguity, saying wokeness is here to stay is a statement that this is something that its critics have to come to terms with, which means that attacking it is futile. It's here to stay. This is not a thing you can roll back the clock on. But here, he tries to levy a criticism of it. And he bounces all over the map. So he does an uninformed reading of the Tavistock Clinic issue. And then he has a single paper here by John McWhorter. And that's it. And then a smattering of Lacan. But this reads like something Zizek-ish. Like it's taken aesthetics from Zizek, like things that people expect from Zizek or that frequently occur in discussions of Zizek, and it's just together into an anti-woke article. I don't think it's an AI construct, to be clear. I just think that that's an interesting idea. See, because if that's what it was, and this was like a stunt, that'd be cool. That'd be interesting. I all would be forgiven, but I'm not optimistic. Thank you for the €5, possibly, Neil. It might help to investigate the publication. Check out the About section, who the editors are. Well, apparently Zizek is an editor. But yeah, fair enough. Let's look. Sarabamari. I don't know any of these people. Matthew Schmitz is the founder and editor of Compact. Wait. Bullets the columnists and contributing editors visit the masthead. Adrian Vermeulen, ugh. Michael Tracy. Well, that's disappointing. Do Zizek's other articles in this publication read more like him? That could be interesting to check out. That could be, actually. Let's see. Let's see. Cancel culture parallax, the way forward for the left. God, that is violently orange. Yeah, this reads more like Zizek. In politics, the motto Levatus Prodeo, I go forward masked, is often quite appropriate. Notice the density of the language here. A revolutionary force, when it takes over, at first doesn't show its true colors, but merely claims it wants to improve the existing system. But isn't it even more appropriate to turn the saying around? Larvatus Recido. When I am forced to retreat, I assume a deceiving mask to cover up the depth of my defeat and present it as a fresh advance. Then again, what if the naked face itself is already a mask, so that when I retreat, I pretend to drop my mask and offer my true face, the ultimate deception? Just recall politicians who often late in their age betray their radical roots and claim that they are now no longer possessed by false visions. I renounce my ideological illusions, now I am just who I truly am. This version of Larvatus Recido perfectly fits the fetishistic function of ideology in its cynical mode, which includes a distance toward itself, or to repeat Peter Sloterdijk's old formula of cynical reason, I know what I am doing, but I am nonetheless doing it. The fetishistic disavowal, I know very well, but I don't really believe it, is raised to a higher reflexive level. Fetish isn't the element to which I hold so that I can act ignoring what I know. Fetish is this knowledge itself. The cynical reasoning is, I know very well what I am doing, so you can't reproach me that I don't know what I am doing. This is how in today's capitalism the hegemonic ideology includes and thereby neutralizes critical knowledge. Critical distance towards the social order is the very medium through which this order reproduces itself. Just think about today's explosion of art biennals, Venice, Cassell, and the like. Although they usually present themselves as a form of resistance against global capitalism and its commodification of everything, they are in their mode. This reads nothing like the previous article. At all. I'm not going to pay for this, but like, this is. The urgent need for international cooperation and agreed action was publicly embraced, but all this declarative blah blah had no real effect, and it is quite probable that the same will happen with anti-capitalist talk. Very little will really change. A threat to the system will be effectively neutralized. Yeah, this reads like Zizek. This is like a much more dense piece. Whereas by contrast, if we look at wokeness is here to stay, some claim that wokeness is on the wane. In fact, it is gradually being normalized, conformed to even by those who inwardly doubt it, and practiced by the majority of academic, corporate, and state institutions. This is why it deserves more than ever our criticism, together with its opposite, the obscenity of the new populism and religious fundamentalism. This is brain dead. Could it have been misattributed? It's got like references to Lacan in it, but it's like it's. I wonder if the previous article was butchered by other editors. Maybe. I don't know. Let me confess a guilty pleasure. Oh, let me move this here. Let me confess a guilty pleasure, one that elicits contempt from almost all of my friends. I quite like Roland Emmerich's newish science fiction movie Moonfall. Yeah, see, this reads like Zizek. This is the kind of thing Zizek does. What Zizek doesn't do is pull like a couple of news articles from a really like slanted perspective and then just run with it. And look, he's talking about like a freaking Roland Emmerich movie, and he's saying, two features I find interesting in the film are first, the denaturalization of what we spontaneously perceive, as a gigantic natural object. The moon's ragged surface is just a mask aimed at concealing a complex machine inside. Oh. Hang on, everybody. Stay calm. We'll come back. Oh, looks like we're back. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you so much, Rixai, for the 5 gifted memberships. I really appreciate that. That's fantastic. Yeah, exactly. When you don't hit the like button, guys, the connection dies. It's powered by the kinetic energy of you just frantically clicking over and over and over again. Okay, I'm going to refill my coffee, and we are going to do some Dead Space and probably listen to a debate of some kind. We're gonna need to recover from this. This was bad. Not this. This is probably fine. This thing here, this wokeness is here to stay. I don't know what to make of this. I don't know if this is like an AI stunt. I don't know if he's like gone senile. I don't know what this is. Like this here, this is like a J.K. Rowling quote. I don't know what to I don't know what to say. If this is actually a Zizek piece, that is disgraceful for him. I have much higher expectations. I'll be back in a few minutes, and then we will continue. Okay, enough of that. New Philosophy Tube video. I'm too tired for the New Philosophy Tube video. We'll do that another day. Reading that that Zizek article. I hope it's a Zizek article. Almost gave me an aneurysm. We need brain bleach after that. I just did a cursory research, so it may be deeper than I found. Interestingly, Ben Burgess was guarded about it, and he knew Zizek personally. That's interesting. Let's see. Apparently Ben Burgess has responded to this. I'm not usually a fan of Ben Burgess, but I am curious. Has he done like commentary on this already? I'm not seeing it on his YouTube channel. Let's check Twitter. I just generally don't find Ben Burgess very sophisticated. I don't have anything against the guy. I just don't tend to go to him for philosophy stuff. Okay, here we go. All right, let's look at this. So this is Ben Burgess commenting on the article. This, to my mind, is the key paragraph in Zizek's Wokeness essay. His point is, all this exhausting performative moralism fits perfectly without a progressive wing of neoliberalism politics. It has no interest in actually changing much of anything. It's just a really milquetoast response. My view on puberty blockers is A, I don't particularly feel qualified to weigh in on what looks to me like a complicated medical debate on risks, so I'm agnostic. And C, I'm very opposed to bans. Okay. This is weak. What are the quotes like? Not wrong. Yeah, this is my, if it's not like a stunt of some kind, and I really don't think it is, to my mind, what's happening with Ben Burgess is what's happening with Zizek. Zizek is a celebrity. He's rubbing shoulders with a certain class of people very frequently. He is being socially rewarded for using particular kinds of language. Maybe he's doing so in like, I don't know, like it's a real politique thing, where he's trying to make like abrasive interventions with some better end in sight, but it just looked like an ideological hack piece, which I thought was beneath him. So that's disappointing. See Doe's reply. She points something out. I did. I saw Doe's reply. It was a good reply. Maybe I'll have Doe on to talk about that. Actually, I'm kind of curious what she thinks or Rita thinks. I'll not make that mistake at some point. Anyways, Dead Space and debate. We need to figure out what that debate is that we're looking at, and where, and why. Use of big others, definitely Zizek, yeah. Yeah, so here's what we're going to do, I think, for today. We're going to finish Dead Space, because we're almost there. And then there's actually a video by Revolution and Ideology on understanding Max Weber's definition of the state. And that's short, and I want to go over that, because I don't know. I like seeing if people do this kind of thing well or not. And I seem to be getting vibes that he does it well. So that's the kind of thing I like to do, because I'm a nerd that way. And then we will do other stuff tomorrow. Also, aren't Doe's pronouns edits? Yeah, they are. Doe is very generous, however, and is forgiving of people who use she, but I'm trying to not reflexively use that. All right. Babushki. There we go. Oh, apparently there was a Aston Mac debate. Maybe we'll listen to that while we're finishing Dead Space. Actually, that sounds like an idea. Let's do that. Twitch TV. Oh, is he in this one? No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. Now, we're not going to because it's on Twitch, and we're going to be running through ads constantly. So let's... Present Sunday, I had a question above, but I can't repeat it. Probably will get hidden as spam. It begins with observation. How far up? I can only scroll back so far. Yeah, I'm not seeing your question. Just repost it. It'll show up. When you're debating Big Mouth Haas, we're still working on the. We're still haggling about moderator. Let's see. Okay. Does Twitch put ads on their VODs too? I think they put ads on their VODs. I could be mistaken about that. I'm pretty sure they do, though. Oh, where is that? There was that debate I wanted to post. Damn it. Okay, maybe it's been put into content suggestions. Sorry, bear with me. There's a link that I had that I thought was in my playlist, but it's just missing now. Damn. All right, well, I guess we'll go completely out of left field, and we'll just do the Aston Mac thing. Well, we'll try it anyways. If it's just an advertisement nightmare, then we'll just do Dead Space, and then we'll move on to the last thing. All right, here we go. Where's my Twitter capture? Or Twitch capture? There we go. Boom, 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 boom. Ah, close enough. All right, so we'll move that over here. And that will do nicely.
Nonsense heteronormative.
Oh god, that's cancerously loud.
I do. Hold on, quick.
Okay. We'll run with that. Okay, here we go. Oh, indeed. Is there a shop here? Oh, there is. Good.
What's up, bitch? We on stream? Oh boy.
We're off to a good start.
I do. Hold on, quick question. Do you have a mute
Okay, so this debate is between Aston Mac, pictured here, and dubious friend of the channel, Ellen Degenerate, who you might remember from such classics as James from the Internet and Poly People have found secret Twitch Hitler, I guess.
Or anything button, because like I don't want to do this if there's a mute button. No, because you're I'm going to make a point and then you're going to try and silence me again like you did earlier on Twitter when you reported my thing, so you knew that I couldn't respond. I'm sure you did it. Yeah. You are far more in internet culture than I am. I actually go outside. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, what do you? Hold on. Who is Cunty going? I don't know what. They can't even hear you. You know that, right?
I'm gonna regret this, aren't I?
Okay.
So, like I was saying,
Intersectional theory. That's when you tone police a vigil 2,000 miles across an ocean, and because they used a slogan that perfectly applied to the situation.
First of all, let's go ahead and start with the word tone police. There's no tone policing. Black people
Yes.
just no. Black people simply ask, "Hey, could you use a different phrase?"
No, a mentally ill black person asked. Not all black people. Not all black people are on fucking Twitter.
There's a good chunk of black people.
Yeah, and none of them gave a shit about this.
See, this is the part why. Remember when you were trying to make sure I don't have a mute so that you can do the thing where you talk over me and start shouting expletives, like start calling people slurs and things. That's why people.
Wait. What slur did I use?
You just called them mentally ill.
That's not a slur.
Yeah, it is.
So it's a slur. Like so.
Why
When,
is,
like,
why is
if a-
Aston so quiet on his own stream?
If a doctor is like diagnosing someone, they're like, "You are mentally ill." Like that's a doctor using a slur.
Yeah, so you actually don't know how they actually died.
Wow, his audio is actually worse. I wasn't using Ellen's video because it was just the quality was so bad. His is worse. All right, we'll use Ellen's. Hang on one sec. Dear God. That is awful. That is actually awful.
Be saying, say their names.
Like that's literally the point. We're pointing out.
No, it's not. That's not what happened though. That's
Okay, this is cancer, guys. I'm not listening to this. I'm sorry. There's a limit. This is unwatchable. Like, come on. My audio is nothing to write home about. This is bad. Let's fuck, you know what? Okay, whatever. We'll suffer through it. It's fine. It's fine. We'll do it. I don't want to. Okay. Ellen, for the love of God, lower your volume.
No, because you don't deserve to talk. You should seriously stop shitting in your hand and clapping. This is just an unforced error on your part. Even you use. I don't care.
Sort of debate that, but you're not. You actually don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It's called
I-
matrix of oppression. It's actually quoted from Crenshaw. When Crenshaw when Crenshaw worked on the Say Her Name campaign, she was specifically talking about the fact that black females get erased. Why do they get erased? By things like white privilege. White privilege makes it so that Breonna Gray's name was trending, and none of the black women for Say Her Name were trending. That's the white privilege that we're talking about. And that's
What are you
the
talking about? Sandra Bland was trending for like years. For Say Her Name. Yes, it was. For years. For like a whole year, Sandra Bland. was trending. There's tons of black trans women that are trending, and if you want to say that, oh, they have privilege and that their name is being put out there ahead of that, you could have did a yes and, not just said no.
What do you mean a yes and?
As in, yes, this is bad that a trans girl was murdered in broad daylight, and these are other people that were murdered in similar ways that whose names aren't being saying. Say their names.
Well, like that's literally the point. We're pointing
No,
out.
it's not. That's not what happened, though. That's not what happened. A trans org was bullied into changing their slogan.
A trans organization was told once again, because the black queer community has been saying for literally 50 years.
No, it was on Twitter. Don't conflating yourself.
Larger community. Yeah.
Stop conflating yourself, Aston. Aston, stop conflating yourself. You are not the black community. You're not the black queer community. You are not any community. You are one person in the community. Right?
I know you don't actually read black trans voices or
What do you do?
black queer voices, but it's literally a topic that comes up so
Who's your favorite black
often
trans?
in
Who's your favorite
black
black
spaces that if
Aston.
you were to listen to them
No,
for
no,
more
no,
than
no,
5 seconds, you would hear it.
Hey, Aston, who's your favorite black trans author?
What are you doing here?
You don't read black trans women, but you can't even name a single black trans author.
Oh no.
It's because I might not have the name.
Don't do it, Ellen. It'll backfire.
Okay, cool. So you don't do it either. So it's a weird empty fucking virtue signal on your part.
Wait. You want to talk about about black trans creators? You could talk about Khadijah and Boe. You could talk about Turb. I can name black trans creators. I can't think of Rhea changes their name like every.
You just said that I don't read black trans women, and then I asked you for a black trans author, and you couldn't give me one, which means that you don't read black trans women either.
No, it actually just means that I can name books like, for example, I can name race without racist without naming the author.
Oh, that's wait.
Because I can't think of the name off the top of my head.
You just said I don't read black trans women, not black trans books, black trans women. So you need to just admit that you just were fucking stupid right there.
No, I just told you that this is a common topic, and I named a black trans book. Immediately.
That's not. No, you fucking Googled it. Everybody just. I'm watching you on your fucking thing right now. You fucking Googled it.
Dude, I'm not even clicking anything. My hands are.
You don't have to click. You can do everything with your fucking keyboard. I'm not fucking stupid.
Anyways, so moving on. So the point is, whether you want to believe it or not, black trans people and black queer people have been talking about black erasure since Stonewall.
Wait, hold on. Who was erased? Who was erased by this vigil saying "say her name" in response to a trans girl? No. Wait, how? How were they erased? How were they erased?
Because more attention is going to get paid to white people than black people. That's
Wait, what specific black woman was killed by police that was not getting attention that otherwise would have if Breonna Gay's vigil did not use that slogan?
Right. So your argument here is because we're struggling to bring awareness to black women, we should allow black white women to speak over.
Wait, no, we should not tone police a fucking vigil is what we shouldn't do. We shouldn't.
The whole purpose
I agree with
of the
that.
awareness campaign was to bring attention to the fact that black women, even in patriarchal
Like
privilege,
it is kind of gross.
get less attention than black men. It's not just white people; it's also men that erase
Like,
them. So
Here's what you do. You
You're-
don't make
you're
someone's
focusing on too.
unaroll
You're saying that they should
or
use
whatever, the basis of that
hashtags
critique.
get less reach in
You
the
do that in
algorithm,
between.
When even by your own logic,
just tasteless.
wouldn't of the way that
it's
hashtag
just
works,
kinda cruel to the
basically
family,
make
honestly.
it where anybody using that hashtag would be increased
whoever's
in the
associated with
algorithm.
that person.
You literally, and it's funny because again, intersectionality. You can look up Crenshaw.
This is not an intersectionality. This is a technology question.
No. This is an intersectional thing because the specific thing that is said is that it's always said it is a trickle down effect. Literally, quote Crenshaw. People think that the marginal effect by having a larger group be recognized while ignoring the intersections of that group.
But you still haven't determined how they're being ignored.
Yeah, it's exactly intersectionality. This is literally.
You can't even name a single person that had the same situation and was overspoken because
Oh,
of
thank
the
you
way
for
the
that.
hashtag was currently being used. You can't name a single person that did that. And then if you wanted to highlight people in the past that used that hashtag and didn't get pulled up, wouldn't the embrace of the hashtag now only make them more visible, not less?
Oh, come on. You're gonna make me do every single one of those.
That's not how hashtags work, though. So they're just going to, so wait, wait. Are more eyes on it or not? Yes or no? Are more eyes, if you use the same hashtag and it gets a lot of attention, mathematically speaking, would more eyes be on the other ones? Yes or no?
No.
That's fucking stupid.
Because I'm sorry that you think that your line of logic. This is literally what intersectionality.
This is literally how Twitter is built. It's how it's how hashtags work.
No, it's not.
So a hashtag getting popular in the algorithm won't make other tweets with that hashtag more popular.
Quick question. Charlie D'Amelio did a dance that a black woman did, that a black woman created. Yet that black woman has to pay her rent using a GoFundMe. Why didn't she get a trickle-down effect from all the attention that Charlie D'Amelio?
Okay, are you considering a dance with a hashtag?
It's the same thing.
No, it's not. It's not the same at all because you can't put a dance into the fucking algorithm, but you can put a hashtag into it.
The dance is put into the TikTok algorithm. What the fuck do you think runs TikTok?
No. They don't literally take the dance and like AI does the dance and then put it up. No, it's hashtags. Fucking idiot.
The name of the dance and the dance itself is actually put into the algorithm. That's how it fucking works, dumbass.
So close.
So did Charlie D'Amelio put the hashtag in? When the first woman made the dance, did she have the hashtag?
Oh, are you serious? Oh, come on.
Cool. She stole a dance that didn't have a hashtag and then created a hashtag that made it be bigger.
Actually used the same name as the girl and when you search the dance, Charlie D'Amelio comes up and not the girl. That's the point. That's exactly what's going to happen here. Say was going to pop up and all you're going to see is Brianna.
I don't think you actually understand the problem here. The issue is how it was filed and how the algorithm works, not that the AI didn't capture the fucking dance.
What? That's exactly what we're talking about. The algorithm that also dictates how hashtags work. It's why when you
Oh my god.
and guaranteed by the end of the year,
Oh, this is.
it's going to be Brianna and not fucking. If we hadn't brought attention to it,
It's Brianna J.
Boss, this bullshit. Okay.
Yeah, see, this is what my problem is because I don't think you actually have an issue with like the hashtag. I think you just don't like trans people and are wanting to use black.
Oh, don't go there,
organizing credit as
Ellen.
a way of hitting it.
Is that why I talk about Destiny Howard? Is that why I worked with the family?
Well, you only talk about trans people if they're
Ellen,
black.
don't
You
go
care
there,
more
that's
about
too
the
far.
blackness than the transness, but the transness disgusts you.
Is that why I work with trans people in the organization that I hand out food with, like literally every day? No, dude, yeah, of course.
Yeah, how do they feel about you saying that Brianna J. Vigil should have been tone policed?
The reason why you have to deflect like
No, answer the question. Answer the question, Aston. How do the trans people you work with feel about tone policing Brianna J. and saying that actually somehow hurting black women for them to say
Oh
her
my
name
God.
and the consequence of a trans girl getting dead named by her own media?
So I actually
Come on. Oh, yes, plasma energy. Good. Finally.
problem with the black culture.
People that are already friends with you and already agree with you.
Also, they're also academics that work in the field. So
Ivory Tower academics. Okay, cool.
Ah!
ground as well. Like,
Why?
Oh, okay, yeah. No,
Why?
you are lost in the sauce of this weird fucking bubble where you can't. No, you're allergic to fucking winning. This is why you've been organizing for years because you fucking suck at what you
Okay,
do.
Ellen, you're going too far here. You're going too far.
No,
Gotta
because I think
dial it
you're
in a little
lying,
bit.
Because I think you're a liar.
Right, because do you want me to out chat logs?
No, I want you to shut the fuck up and stop organizing.
Why, Ellen?
Because I think you're anathema to any. I think you are allergic to winning. I think you could have easily created a situation where actual intersectional theory could have been applied, where you could have said how racialized violence is gendered, how gendered violence is racialized, how transphobia and homophobia and patriarchy all intersect to kill all of us, rather than trying to be like, actually, this vigil used a slogan that I don't like.
What is explain what intersectional
You
theory is.
literally couldn't even understand the
Alan, what are you
optical fail
doing?
of saying that Anne Frank had white privilege.
She does. She does. I'm sorry that makes you uncomfortable.
It doesn't make me uncomfortable. It's fucking stupid.
It's true.
It's like,
I'm sorry that you think white
I mean,
privilege is
rhetorically,
fucking
it's kind of
stupid,
dumb.
dude.
I don't know why you'd say that,
because
but
you think you're fucking stupid.
No.
I'm sure you'll think that things that
No.
most black liberational thinkers and most intersectional thinkers and most
Did Emmett Till have male privilege?
Huh?
Did Emmett Till have like male privilege?
Yes, he did.
How'd that work out for him?
He died.
Yeah. Do you think that the way he died had anything to do with his gender? That there's ways that intersectionality can overpower other privileges?
Right. You know why we know Emmett Till's name is a lot of the reason might be because he's a man. That's the point.
No, it's because he was a 14-year-old boy.
Right, or a boy. The point is.
Yeah, and his mom was connected in Chicago and said for people to see what they did to my boy, and she insisted on the casket being an open casket.
It's almost like when Crenshaw actually does the presentation on intersectionality, she points out.
But you're not doing it justice. Like, I know that you don't actually read Crenshaw, considering you misspelled it the first time you said it until I corrected you.
that doesn't follow.
I've actually spelled it right like 5,000 times before. If you actually, you can just
I'm
look
sure.
on Twitter and see me spelling it right. I'm sorry that a typo freaks you out, dude.
Wait, how did you typo a letter that is on the other side of the keyboard?
If you were honest about this criticism, why don't you go to my Twitter right now and search how many times I've spelled Crenshaw's name correctly before this, huh?
You mean when you were using voice text and it was smarter than you? And then when you actually typed it, it showed that you don't know what you're talking about?
I don't get why we're dwelling on this.
Your voice text is smarter than you.
So what you're trying to say is you don't want to actually verify the truth because you actually don't have an argument because this is all a deflection.
My argument is that it is optics poison to actually a vigil where a trans girl was murdered in broad daylight and then dead named by her media, where people are telling that media, hey, say her name, so that. And then you.
Okay, sorry, just very quickly.
What happened was we said, hey,
So here's the thing, right? I'm in agreement with Ellen on the point that it's gross to be making someone's death, especially a member of a group that's being specifically targeted right now. The subject of this, as it's like an imminent event, like as it's going on right now, not the death, but like the memorial things around it. But I don't know. I'm not. This isn't the way to go. You're going in too hard. You're reaching too much. And I get it. Like it's. I think it's gross. I think using a targeted minority member's murder as like a soapbox, that's disgusting by itself. But at the same time, like. You gotta rein it in a little bit, Ellen.
Use a different phrase because
Wait. Who was the person that blew up? Who was the person that blew? It was one person that blew up, and then like, what are those people's ideas?
We don't even know the person you're talking about.
Yes, you do. It's the person that everybody fucking quote tweeted.
Okay, right. Because I'm quote tweeting, right?
The person that fucking Jesse Gender quote tweeted. The whole reason that everybody's talking about this at all.
Right.
You can pretend like you don't know.
I keep forgetting that you have this overinflated sense that you guys are everybody.
No, it's not about this thing. Hold on, let's look at the amount of views on that fucking tweet right now. Then.
Okay, I can say that there are tons of views on that tweet. That doesn't change the fact that I don't care. Like plenty of people have been talking about issues like this forever, and it's this was talked about in activist circles. That's why I started hearing about it, and then I saw endless talk about it. This is how you. This is literally what you do every
Hold on.
conversation.
No. We're looking at how many views this tweet got. Hold on.
Wait, so you look at how many views the tweet got, but you won't look up to see if I spelled Crenshaw right?
No,
in the
because I don't care. Because it's not. It has nothing to do with our argument.
Oh, so
Yeah.
why did you bring it up in the first place then? So you admit that you were just bringing it up for shits? Because you have no idea.
No,
what
I
you're
think
talking
it's
about?
really funny
He's
that
got-
I
he's
pretend
got you
like
there a
you know
little bit,
everything
Alan. I'm
and then
sorry,
I, like
like-
misspelling the author's name.
You
I
didn't
think
choose
it's
your
funny.
battles here.
Wow, because a typo.
It would be like if I was like a huge like Stephen King fan and then I spelled King with a C.
Correcting it when I use the
Yeah,
wrong
but-
your? Are you gonna correct
Yes.
the typos when I start?
Yes,
I didn't.
that's the exact same as getting a K and a C mixed together, even though they're
Nowhere near each other on the keyboard.
It doesn't matter, Ellen. Maybe he misspelled it. I misspell things sometimes.
Yeah, because that's not the same, and you know it's not.
What again? What's your point? If I spell Crenshaw correctly, 90% of the time.
It means that you don't actually give a shit about the work. See, I spell authors' names correctly.
Wow. Yeah, but you fuck up their theory because you don't.
How did I fuck up the theory though? Let's get to that. How am I fucking up the theory?
Why don't you explain?
But Ellen, why? Why is this like the
Intersectionality is
focus?
The idea that there are different
Like you got a strong case here. Like, hey, don't use
ways that can create either
don't
extra
use a
marginalization
dead
or
trans
lateral
woman
oppression,
as
depending on
like
the situation.
propaganda
The way that
fodder.
a
That's
black man
that's
can
good.
Marginalize a black woman.
Easy to get
or a
behind.
white
You got a
woman
strong
can
case
marginalize
there.
A black man, or a black man could even marginalize a white woman. That is the idea of intersectionality. That all these identities can flow together or flow against each other in different and sometimes unpredictable ways.
Wait. So does intersectionality say that you exclusively only claim one marginalization at a time, or does it say that you are all of your?
Literally just said black. I literally just said black man, white woman. Okay, so obviously I don't think it's one marginalization at a time. You fucking dumbass.
Question real quick.
Ellen, I've seen it.
That you are
Stop
all
it.
your identities at all times.
I didn't even say that.
No, I'm saying, does intersectionality say that?
No.
What? You're telling
In
me that
cer-
Crenshaw didn't talk about
in certain situations, no. Like the marginalizations can weigh differently. Whereas Carolyn Bryan's whiteness had a lot more to do with Emmett Till's death than her womanness, right?
That's not what intersectionality cares about.
That's me applying. That's me applying the theory. Would you say that that's a correct appraisal of the situation?
Does that even do damage?
Would Carolyn Bryant, would she have been able to do what she did as a black
it doesn't do anything.
woman
Okay, that
versus
was a
a
bad
white
choice.
boy?
I mean, it really, like, again, it depends on the situation, but yeah.
In 1940s Mississippi,
God,
probably
this
not.
is so much harder than the original, but for like the wrong reasons.
Of situations, probably not.
It's like
But again, as I keep
like
pointing out,
this combat system is not good for precision shooting like this.
It's actually from Crenshaw talking about how you are all of your identities at the same time interacting with the matrix of repression, and that matrix of repression is exactly.
And I
why.
can't
So the
pick
reason
these
why
up
you don't wanna hit
for
this
some
point
reason, even though I can pick up a bunch of other things of
It's
equivalent
because I
size.
disagree with her. I don't
just
like
annoying.
take fucking theory as like gospel.
Like I feel like all of the tools I had early in the game are just not being usable.
if you don't actually understand how the theory
Well,
works.
I can use a theory that somebody coins and then apply it in ways that they might not agree with. If you were using this standard, I wouldn't even be able to disagree with Marx about like certain like labor commodity
finally.
ideas and stuff like that.
What are you talking about? You would say that you would point out that Marxist theory has limits, right?
Yes, I think Kimberly Crenshaw, in the way that she applies it, sometimes has limits.
Wait. So when you would talk about something outside of Marxist theory, it would no longer be Marxist theory.
No, you can use Marxist theories in ways that he would disagree with, as Lenin did.
It's not in ways that it's ways that are
Wait,
within the
but you just discredited the entire concept of Marxist-Leninism. Because, like, but most of Marxist-Leninism thought would completely flies in the face of what Marx would have believed. So by your idea that you're saying that Marxist-Leninists can't even be Marxist, which I would agree with, but I just don't expect you to agree with it.
Well, that's actually a point that I would actually make about Marxist-Leninists. That's actually a point that I make on stream.
That's cool, I don't want you because you're boring. But the
Dude,
point...
just cut it out. It's too much.
You are using the word intersectionality.
Like we get it. You don't like him.
Something that intersectionality does not describe.
What am I describing that intersectionality doesn't describe.
You're saying that white people lose their privilege because of their different marginalizations.
No, I said that they can. I said they get less of it. I didn't say they completely lose it. But I would consider a black woman, like black cis woman, way more privileged in the average in America than a white trans person by far.
So that's actually wrong.
Why would you insist on that?
Actually, white
How would
No,
you?
I would even consider this to like queer
How would you
people
even
whose families
substantiate
didn't support
that?
them, because black people at least have black parents, whereas queer people don't always have queer parents.
This is a weird statement because black people are killed. If once you actually remove white people from the trans identity and you actually break it up to white trans people, they die less than black people. They're killed less.
Yeah, because of poverty and like the likelihoodness
Ellen,
of being able to
no,
get hormones
just-
and shit
you
like
don't-
that, and even like
you don't need to
even
win this.
Counter an idea.
In fact, you need
that
to not
can
win
do
this.
that,
This is
which has only been happening in like the last like what 8
bad
years?
one.
Police brutality directly.
Do you think that there might be an intersection there because like black people are poor, so that if they are trans, they might have to resort to sex work, which makes them more likely to die?
Wait. I do think that there's an intersection there. I think
Right.
there's an intersection of whiteness that makes it that they're less likely to be targeted by the police.
Wait, it's the wealth that's associated with the whiteness, not so much as the whiteness itself in terms of what makes a trans person do that.
Why does white privilege make you so uncomfortable, huh? Is it
White
because
privilege, because I think it's a really bad. I think that white privilege is valid, but the way that people apply it is really stupid and counter-ethical into the way that we use it. Like I don't like the idea of looking at a white trans girl who was murdered in broad daylight and being like, yeah, you are just the same as like a white dude from like Chicago.
because intersectionality says she's all of her identities at once,
What,
not
do you-
one or the other.
Wait, so if she was a black woman, would people have like, and she had a name change? Do you think the paper would have abided by that name change?
No.
That's fucking bullshit.
What are you talking about? One of the reasons why we came up with this Say Your
Right.
Name campaign is because black trans women were getting dead named left and right.
Yeah, so then another woman was getting dead named, and then you proceeded to go, we can't use this now. So what's wrong with correcting the dead name using the same hashtag that was used to correct other dead names?
Because all the piles of black women that don't have their killers seeing justice right now was
So less people seeing this woman's killer solves that how? Less.
It doesn't solve it. It just you're diverting attention away from
Hey! Oh my God! You admit it. You admit that you're going into an area that doesn't solve anything. Oh my God! I'm glad that you're.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't solve. Wait. What I'm saying is this specific instance doesn't solve anything. Obviously, the awareness campaign's point was to bring attention to a specific issue. When you co-opt that issue and change the awareness campaign, you then erase the purpose.
When Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X died, did they call them Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X in the paper, or did they call them Cassius Clay and Malcolm Little?
Right. Are you talking about black? Are you talking about male privilege?
I'm talking about how the reason their name changes were taken seriously was because of it within cis heteronormative ideas, and the reason gays name change isn't taken seriously is because it doesn't. And you could partner with people to bring awareness to that issue instead of trying to be anti-solidarity, which is what you are doing.
We're not being anti-solidarity.
You are being absolutely anti-solidarity.
Anti-solidarity is when black queer people ask for.
Black people did not ask for this.
What are you doing?
No, shut the fuck up. This
wasn't
black
good.
People had a problem with what you were saying than with what.
Okay, I can't do any more of this. Ellen, this isn't a good performance. This is bad. Okay. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't just aggressively go after like every aspect of the person you're talking to's character or platform or whatever. Don't make insinuations you can't substantiate. It's too aggressive and it's undermotivated. It's just silly. He didn't seem to be the aggressor here. I don't think that. I don't know. I want to listen to the energy transition delusion. I don't want to listen to this anymore. I want to listen to something that's going to be somewhat interesting. Sorry, Ellen. We'll chat about this later.
And, thank you, Tim, and the Skagen team for the pleasure of joining you in a southern latitude. at least south of where I grew up in Canada. It's a pleasure to be where the sun sets so early. I'm heading to Miami this afternoon. As Siri said, I'm going to talk about not investing per se, but a macro, a technological macro. I am involved in, I am interested in investments, but having been trained and spent my early career as a physicist, I tend to focus throughout my life, whether it's in public policy or in the investment world, on underlying facts and phenomenologies, if you like. So the world is at, people say this a lot, at a pivot. It feels like we're at a pivot point. The pivot in energy sense is in the direction of what everybody is talking about, which is the energy transition. And the key issue with the energy transition
Oh my
rhetoric
God, how am I
and
supposed
policies
to aim?
is not one about aspirations, which I'm not going to talk about, and not one about structural possibilities, which are non-trivial, but rather it's about minerals and mining, as Siri pointed out. So my focus is almost entirely on that. And in a sense, this is not naked adulation for
Don't
Norway.
fucking dare. Do not add another
in a sense,
stage.
the policies of the world are focused on trying to become Norwegian. I have stolen the famous Canadian line, Ich bin ein Berliner, to translate it, I think, correctly into, I want to be a Norwegian. I mean, Norway last year, as I'm sure you all know, had the record in the world. 80% of all new cars were electric that were purchased here. Norway gets 90% of electricity from renewables. It gets half of its primary energy from renewables. This is, in essence, the goal of the entire energy transition world. That's, in a nutshell, where the world thinks it must go or where it thinks it can go. I mean, Norway has some advantages. Maybe, perhaps, obviously. It's wealthy. I mean, it's 700% wealthier than the world average. It's wealthier than America by a significant margin.
Okay, you know what?
Even
This thing's too long.
economically
You know what we're
challenging
gonna do?
times, I think it's about 30 to 40%.
Let me call up Ellen and see if he wants to chat about this. We can have a post-mortem. It was actually getting interesting to talk on energy. Yeah, we're going to do the talk on energy transition another day. We've been going for close to 3 hours. I want to chat with Ellen, or try to chat with Ellen first, and then wrap up. What do you think about Isaac's redesign? I like it. It also, like, it fits his age better. Isaac's supposed to be in his 40s. He's like an experienced engineer. He's not supposed to be like a, what's his name? Like a Nathan Drake type person. But he kind of looks like that in the original Dead Space 2. I like what they've done with him here. They've made these characters, like, more, like, mature and, like, age appropriate to, like, their jobs. Well, anyways, 50,000 credits awarded, 10 power nodes awarded, text logs awarded. Aha! Advanced soldier rig. Suit 6 unlocked. Hoo hoo hoo. Brilliant. And we have New Game Plus. I know what I'll be doing later. All right, I'm gonna see if I can't get a hold of Ellen. And I'll be right back. All right, I'm not seeing Ellen in chat. I don't think he's awake. So I think we'll do that another day. I think we'll run the energy video another time. I think we're gonna wrap up now. We've been going for close to 3 hours. We will be back. When will we be back? What's our schedule? It's Friday today. Are we streaming tomorrow? Yeah, we are streaming tomorrow. So we'll be back tomorrow. I don't know what's happening Sunday. We might be on a panel depending on how much of a shit show it looks like. Let's see. I don't like these topics. Let's see, when is this? February 26th. $7 p.m. Eastern Standard. That's about my time. I just don't know if it's going to be just a boring shit show. Well, worst case scenario, I just don't talk much, I guess. We'll say sure. We'll see if she responds. The topic could be interesting. In particular, it's... So the first one I'm not interested in. It's the internet. Is it too edgy or not edgy enough? I don't care about that. Is there any utility in safe spaces online? That one's potentially an interesting question. And then, is everyone grifting? Is anyone genuine? How do you tell? Do online politics ever affect people in real life? That's an interesting question. Okay, that could be good. We'll see. It's a Stardust panel though, so it's hit or miss. We'll see. We'll wrap it up here. Thanks everybody for joining me tonight. If you appreciate what I do, I rely on patrons to keep everything running. There's a link in the description. That's genuinely appreciated. Thanks to everybody who super chatted, everybody who bought memberships. I really appreciate those as well. I will see you all tomorrow, roughly the same time. And have a good night. Take care.